Hey there, Maverick. I am so glad you're here. Today we're going to dig into episode 8, but we're always talking about these big dreams, these bold moves, and the million lessons along the way. Remember, this is our check-in, just you and me crafting and claiming a life that is fully yours. Today I want to talk about the topic of a work-life balance or work-life integration, however you want to say that. I feel like this is an important conversation that comes up often, but never really has a solution or a resolution, and I don't know that there is one. But I do think it's worth the conversation, and I think it's worth reevaluating it, not just talking about it once and deciding how it's going to work, but continuing to revisit this conversation as lives change, as companies change, as kids grow. I think this conversation is so important. So I really appreciate whoever invented the phrase work-life integration. It seems like for years, the phrase was always work-life balance. Like this idea that we're holding work in our left hand and life in our right hand, and we're trying to keep these balanced, or maybe trying to keep them both above water and trying to keep everything equal, whether that's equal in time, equal in effort or energy, or make sure that we love them equally. And I think that was not an attainable goal. And so I'm honestly really glad that that is rarely spoken of. And now this new term, work-life integration, is used more and more today. So for me, work-life integration means just what it sounds like. There's not separate boxes. I think that's how women's brains work more naturally anyway. I don't know if you've ever heard the example or the visualization of a man's brain is kind of like a toolbox where you can open a drawer and then shut the drawer before you open the next one. I remember hearing this one time at a conference, and they were talking about how for a man, you might open a drawer for work and then shut it. Open a drawer for t-ball and then shut it. Open a drawer for grocery shopping and then shut it. Open a drawer for vacation and then shut it. And just how these boxes were very separate compared to a woman's brain that is more like a ball of spaghetti. I think that's how it was explained in this conference, where t-ball ties into work, that ties into vacation, that ties into grocery shopping and dinner, and everything is interconnected. I feel like that's definitely how my brain works. I don't know if that's how you can relate, but that's definitely how my work-life brain works. It's all integrated into one thought process, into one schedule. For me, it's even incorporated into the same building. I work and live out of the same building. We have our commercial storefront on the ground floor, and my family, we live upstairs, right downtown in a historic district in our downtown district. And so for me, I feel like my work-life integration is probably even on steroids compared to some other people. But I think that this idea is interesting, and I think the idea that I don't think anything in our life is truly separate. When we think of friendships or relationships or parenting or work, I really do feel like learning one lesson in one area connects to a lesson in another area. There are so many things that I have learned from parenting that go somehow into my business. It may even be something simple like asking things more clearly. It may be something like patience that I've learned. And then there's also things that I learn at work that I bring back to home, whether that's to the dinner table or just in conversations. I have 4 teenagers, and right now they are 15, 17, I missed one, 13, 15, 17, and 19. Their birthdays are all in the fall, so soon I'll have 4, 15 to 19. And these teenage years have just been the best. I think they're my favorite season so far. I think I say that at every season. But I truly love having teenagers that we can have these conversations with. And we're at the phase of life now where 2 of the 4 of them are driving. My oldest moved away about an hour and a half away. She's at a flight academy becoming a pilot. And they're just always on the go. Friday nights are for football games at the high school and for pumpkin patches and for sleepovers with friends. They're coming, they're going. And it's a different way of life now. Typically when I see them, it is either driving them or at an event. We make a point to make family dinners more of a scheduled time or a scheduled event. We try to make it more of a big deal than it was when they were little, because oftentimes that's the only time I see them. When they were little, I had 4 toddlers at one time. I had 4 and 5 years, and life looked very different then. Life was around nap times and play dates and bath time and bedtime, and honestly just keeping them alive. A lot of doctor's appointments and dentist appointments and broken arms and all the things that come with just being little. And I remember as I was growing my business, my photography business, and really trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to integrate my life with my business and love them both? How am I going to feel like at the end of the day, I'm not sacrificing one for the others? Because I truly do love both parts. I love being a mom. I love raising these amazing humans and watching the ways their eyes light up and watching them grow. And I really do love that aspect. I always wanted to be a mom. I got pregnant with my oldest when I was 19. Her dad and I were engaged, but she came as a big surprise. But I wasn't afraid. I knew that being a mom was something I always wanted to do. And we grew up together. I remember taking her in her car seat to my first studio, and she'd sit there as I did my photo shoots. And that was just part of the deal. I remember telling clients, I'm going to have my daughter with me. She's 3 months old. I promise she won't she won't cry or mess up your session. And if she does, I'll figure it out at that point. And she really was a great, happy baby. I'm sure I went above and beyond to make sure that she was fed and napped and everything, probably a lot of stress before my sessions to make sure that she stayed happy. But it just worked. It worked for me when I had just the one to haul around in a car seat. And so in a lot of ways, I say that we grew up together, because she was there when I had my first studio. She was there when I did my first wedding. She was there kind of all along that ride with me, literally with me in a car seat on my hip or in a swing in my office. And she was kind of my little partner in crime. And I loved having that consistency, I think, in her. Now that she's 19 and chasing her own dreams, it's crazy to think about that I was her age when this all started. But I always made that aware. And now when I talk to young people, especially young girls, when I say young, I mean college age. I volunteer with an entrepreneur group here at the University of Nebraska called the Engler Program. And whenever I talk to these young college students, I always remind them to build a business that will grow with them, that'll grow with their family, that will match their family goals that they have. So when I just had Jocelyn, I could haul her around. But then all of a sudden, when I have 2 and 3 and 4 little ones, I can't do that as easily. So I actually shut down my studio downtown and I opened a small studio in my house. I would take photo shoots over nap times and while they were playing with grandma. And that worked for a couple years. And then I needed more. I needed to be more present with them during the day. And I needed more income, honestly, to keep our household afloat. Their dad worked full time, but I also wanted to contribute and honestly loved what I did. So I transitioned my business from portraits to weddings. And I found that I could shoot weddings on weekends and be home full time with the kids. Now, when I was home full time, I was also not completely off the hook, because when you shoot a wedding, you also have to edit the wedding, and you have to load the wedding, and you have to release the wedding, and you have to create albums and meet with couples and do engagement sessions. So when I say that I would shoot weddings on weekends and be home during the week, yes, that was true. I never had to pay for daycare. I was always there. But it was also editing over nap times and while they were in the bathtub and while they were eating their snack. And pretty much any moment I didn't have a baby in my arms, I was editing on a computer, even just for a couple minutes. I got into the rhythm where I would shoot a wedding on a Saturday, I would take Sunday off, and then Monday through Friday, I would edit that wedding. I would release it on Friday to shoot my next wedding on Saturday. Now, my clients loved this because at that time, it was pretty unheard of to get your wedding back in 5 days. Typically, it was about a 6 to 8 week turnaround with the other photographers. So not only did that help me keep on top of my workflow, but it also gave me a competitive advantage that I could talk about when I was at wedding fairs and other things. So in some ways it came out of necessity, but it also set me above the crowd and set me apart. So I feel like that was just something that I did that was a blessing to my kids. It was a blessing to me. It was a blessing to my client. So it truly was a win-win. As soon as my kids were in school full time, I wanted my weekends back. And so again, my work-life integration changed. I started not booking any more weddings and looking for corporate jobs. I did headshots and product photography, things for catalogs. That really allowed me to work 9 to 5 when companies work. I was working with marketing directors and CEOs and just a whole different group of people. I had to learn that language. I had to learn what it looked like to have tighter deadlines and budgets and be working in bigger marketing strategy sessions and things like that. But I knew I could do it because, again, that entrepreneur mind is always looking at the future. It's pivoting, it's growing, it's excited about what's ahead. And so I pivoted my business. Once my kids got a little older, I knew I even wanted more. I knew I could take on employees, and that's when my branding agency really started. It started with just myself and then a business partner. At one time, we were as big as a team of 14, and that allowed me more freedom. That allowed me freedom to be able to travel, to grow my company, to travel to watch my kids do sports, to be able to be at more of their activities, and I was able to be less present in the office, knowing that the income was coming in. Again, another transition of this work-life integration. So for me, that's what it's all about. It's about figuring out what works for your family, but also looking ahead. If you don't have kids yet, thinking about how much do you want to be home? Do you want to be a stay-at-home parent? Do you want to work in an office? Do you want to travel? What does that look like? And how can you build that life to make that work for you? I love having the office in my house. I love being able to pop down for a moment here or there. Some people, they don't like that. They like the complete separation. So again, it's whatever works for you. But I think the idea is to, again, think of our work life and our life as pieces that can work together with ease. It doesn't have to be this battle. It doesn't have to be one is winning and the other one's losing. It can be this integration. It can be this kind of infinity symbol where it just flows from one to the other. And I truly feel like while I'm not perfect, I am moving more and more to that authentic ease of shifting between life and work and winning for my kids, winning for myself, winning for my clients, winning for my husband. And I feel like I can say that with confidence, which means that I must be doing something right. So if you feel like you have that tension in your life, I would encourage you to revisit that and just see what maybe minor changes or big changes you might need to make that work-life integration even smoother. I hope this brought up some ideas and some conversations. I'm always happy to chat more. The easiest way to find me is on Instagram. My handle is the Juliet Wright. But until next time, make sure to go out there, create, claim, and conquer the life you're here to live. And as always, Maverick, remember, I have your back.